Good morning and welcome to the online open day of the Han University of Applied Sciences. My name is Tommaso and I will be your host for today. This is the first session that we're hosting in today's open day, which is going to be about life and studies at the Han. Throughout the day, we have 2 more sessions coming up, which are also live, and then we have a lot of other fun activities that you can also join, for example, Instagram Lives. Now, for this very session, I am joined by 2 special guests. We have Jessica and we have Boriana. Welcome, guys, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. So first of all, let's get to know each other a little bit. So Boriana, would you mind introducing yourself?
Thank you for having us. Hello, everybody. My name is Boriana. I'm 19 years old from Bulgaria, and I'm a first-year international student at the Han. My program at the Han is Life Sciences, and I chose to study at the Han because I think what Life Sciences has to offer really resonated with my own visualization of what I want my future job to be like, specifically in biomedical research.
Thank you very much, Boriana, for introducing yourself and for also letting us learn a little bit of why you've chosen this specific study. How about you, Jessica?
Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica. I'm a communication alumni here from the Han. Now I'm working for the international marketing recruitment team, so maybe some of you have seen me abroad. I'm originally German. I think that's also nice to know. And yeah, that's a little bit about myself.
Welcome, and thank you very much for being here as well. So the way that today's session is structured is in 2 parts. In the first part, we will learn about the study facilities of the Han. So it's a bit more of a technical way of what it's actually like to study within the Han University of Applied Sciences. And in the second part, we will digress a little further on what it's like to live specifically in Arnhem and Nijmegen, which is where the Han has its campuses. Now, at the end of every session of this open day, we will be having a live Q&A. So if you feel like it, feel free to use the chat function of the live stream to ask away any questions that you might have, and we will be getting back to you during the last 15 minutes of this session. All right, let's jump into the very discussion topic that we're having today. What is it like to study at the Han? So, Boriana, would you mind describing to us a little bit, for example, how much time you dedicate to your studies every week?
Well, I would say as a first-year student, approximately 20 hours per week we have to spend at the university having classes, and I would say around the same amount of time I spend, and every student generally is scheduled to spend at home studying for self-preparation.
And do you have classes every day of the week?
Generally, yes. Depends on the schedule. Sometimes you may have them 4 out of 5 days a week, sometimes 5 out of 5. In general, I have variety of classes like biology and chemistry, like general biology and chemistry, also mathematics, lab calculations, and tutorial classes, and theory for practical, as well as the practicals, which, as you may know, that's the highlight of our program. And next semester, even I'm going to have classes such as physics and bioinformatics and division of biology, so I'm looking forward to that.
Great. And you mentioned something that's really important because, of course, when we think of the Han University of Applied Sciences, then the applied part comes in as a very major component. So, Jessica, would you be able to tell us a little more of what it's like to study at a University of Applied Sciences?
Yeah, I would say the difference a little bit of studying at a University of Applied Sciences, as the name already said, everything is really practical. So, for instance, you will have theory classes, and then you will be applying it directly. So you have a project, and all of your classes are working towards implementing that project that you're working on. So then I would say it's around a mix of 50-50, 60-40, practical and theoretical.
And of course, studying comes along with class time, but also with exams. And I know that, Boriana, you have just finished your first or your second exam sessions. How did it go?
It went really well, I would say. I'm satisfied.
Excellent. And of course, it can be that every now and then exams don't go the way that they're planned. That's always part of the study journey. But what happens, Jessica, when someone happens to fail an exam?
Yeah, that is no problem. Of course, everyone can fail at some point in life. It's normal. It comes along with it. If you do fail, you are able to resit it. So then we have certain periods where we have the exam, and then you can, a later period, just retake it again. And we also have, I think, a slide about the grading system.
There
Yeah,
it is.
great.
Yes.
There it is. So yeah, this is a little bit about the Dutch grading system. So on the left, you see how we grade. We grade from 0 to 10, and then a pass would be a 5.5. So you can also get a better understanding of how it looks in comparison to maybe what you have in regards to letter grades, etc.
Yes, and I like this slide very much because, like you said, it also shows different grading systems across different parts of the world, for example, where they also may use letters or where they may use definitions. So
Indeed.
this is just like a little bit of an indication of what it is actually like to receive grades here. And what I also like very much about this slide showing the different scores is like how unlikely it is to get a perfect 10 here, which is very different than, for example, when you study in different countries where getting a perfect score is almost the norm. So it's just like an indication, a very general point that we wanted to outline because maybe it can be quite disappointing when you receive the scores from your first exams and then you're like, oh, I only got an 8. Well, actually an 8 here. It's a really, really good score.
Indeed, indeed.
And Boriana, do you agree with that? Like, what is your experience so far with the grading system?
I definitely agree with that because in high school I used to get perfect scores all the time. And here I had like very high expectations for myself. And indeed, I got an 8 in my first 2 exams. And I was so disappointed. But it turns out an 8 here is like a 10 or a 9
It
everywhere
is
else,
indeed. So if you got an 8, very well done because it's also a very hard score to get for sure. Now, there are also a number of different facilities and other types of services that characterize the HAN. So, for example, we know that the well-being of students is really one of the priorities of the HAN. Would you like, Jessica, to tell us a little more of the types of facilities that can kind of ensure that the students are having a good time overall?
Yeah. So first of all, once you arrive to the Netherlands and once you arrive to the HAN, in your classes, you will be paired up with someone that we call like an SCC, a study career coach. Depending on the program, they call it a little bit different. But it is basically a coach, a teacher or a coach that is guiding you through your 4 years on a personal but also on a professional level. So when we look into the professional level, they will be looking into where do you see yourself in the future, which specializations do you want to take, what aspirations do you have. And then when we look into the personal level, they also look into how are you settling in the Netherlands? Do you feel welcomed? Do you miss anything? Or are you sometimes homesick? And depending on that, the teacher would then, or the coach would come up with solutions for that. So for instance, let's say you're homesick. Well, we have a number of student associations that might be also from your nationality. Let's say you are not feeling so well, you want to meet different people, not only from your nationality, but also make the opportunity and use the chance of meeting more international people. Well, then we also have a number of student associations that you can join to feel really, at home here. But of course, sometimes going to a student association and making friends is not only what you need. So you would like to actually talk maybe with someone from the outside, someone professional. Then we do also offer that. We do have student psychologists on campus who are also speaking English. So you don't need to worry about that. And then they take it from there.
Yes, and thank you for sharing with us all of this great insight. And I think it's also really reassuring to know that there are different facilities that you can refer to, each of them with different roles of making you feel more at home or more integrated within your own community, to really ensure that you're having a peaceful time during your studies. Let's call it like that. Boriana, Jessica has mentioned already a few of these student associations that you can potentially join during your time at the HAN, and I know that you have been joining a few of them. Would you mind telling us what your experience with those associations is like?
Quite familiar with those associations, especially the ones in Nijmegen, like the ESN, for example, or DIDO, or Carpenoctem, and so on. There's so many, and they have such nice activities like baking classes or party every Tuesday in different theme, and it's like so nice. You can do arts and crafts with them. I am personally joining a book club every month with them, which is just so nice, and you can meet like-minded people and more international people, or even Dutch in there. So I think it's quite helpful for international students.
Would you say that you have a favorite type of activity to do alongside these organizations?
Well, just for myself.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I guess I do like reading and hiking. So me and my roommate go hiking sometimes. And of course, it's a compliment that I like reading for the book club. So yeah.
There you go. Then it's perfectly linked up together. Jessica, are there any other facilities or organization groups that you would like to mention?
Yeah, I think what's nice to mention is that we, of course, we have a lot of facilities that are aimed towards your study. But next to that, we also want to make sure that you have, of course, a nice time here. So at the campuses, you have maybe student bars, or you have a coffee place where you can just hang out with your friends during classes and have a nice coffee and a chat. We have sport facilities at some of them, like a gym, for instance, meditation room. So whatever your really needs and wishes are, I think you will be able to find it.
Wonderful. Boriana, do you make use of any of the facilities that Jessica just mentioned?
Well, I would say mainly the cafeteria, especially in our campus. Even though I prefer to make my own food, but I really like to join my friends there when they buy themselves something to have for lunch, and it's pretty nice.
Of course, it's such a nice and fun social moment, right? And for all of the sport people that also might be watching this this online open day, Jessica, you mentioned that there are also sports facilities, and I personally joined, for example, the sports center, which is located in Nijmegen for the Han campus there, and it's really fun. Like, there is a number of classes that you can possibly join that is quite outstanding, really. I think there's over 80 different sport disciplines that you can possibly practice. And I see that Boriana is nodding because you're also planning on joining as well, right?
Yeah, of course. And there is a great discount for students. So I'll definitely benefit in that.
Oh, yeah, extremely affordable. Just like, I believe if you pay for the yearly subscription, it's around like 12 euros per month. If you like spread it up, it's really, really affordable. So I would definitely recommend joining those sport facilities as well if you enjoy like being active and doing different types of activities as well. And another very major component when it comes to studying at the Han, which at least for me was really, really important throughout my studies, was how international the Han actually is. Jessica, would you like to explain to us a little about it?
Yeah, we have around, I would say, more than 100 nationalities at the Han, and 10%. However, 10% doesn't sound so much, but you also have to imagine that we have a lot of Dutch degrees here at the Han. So in the end, in reality, it can be that most of the people in your class are actually international, or that more than half is international. From my own experience, I had 3-4 Dutch people in my class. I don't know about you.
I only have two Dutch people in my class, yeah.
So that means that the whole rest of your class is international, basically.
Yes, indeed.
Wow, that's really outstanding.
Yeah.
And what kind of nationalities can you expect, like from the whole world, or are there like specific areas of the world that it's more concentrated into?
Maybe from the Caribbean, you know, also from Spain, a lot of people, and I think a lot of people from Bulgaria as well. Yeah.
Oh, that's really fun. Yeah, also within my own program, I studied international business here at the Han. Like, there were people really from all different parts of the world. And that was so fun because alongside, of course, learning about your degree and what you signed up for, you're also learning about all of these other cultures. And in my case, I mean, studying international business, and of course, the international component was also rather important within my program. And you also studied international communications, right,
indeed,
Jessica?
indeed.
Yeah. So you can really see like how those things just like match up super, super well. And that was, for me, such a pleasure to see that you can learn in such a transversal type of way different skills when it comes to, for example, relating yourself interculturally, but also learning, of course, about your own degree. Wonderful. And one last question that I had for you guys is, maybe Jessica, you can help me answer this one, is, are there opportunities to go abroad during your time at the Han?
Yes, of course. You already are abroad coming to the Netherlands, but if you want to have just a little bit more, that is possible. Some of the degrees, they do incorporate a half year abroad, and for others, you can choose to go abroad. In total, you can go 3 semesters abroad, which would be 1.5 years. So if you really want to go for it, then go for it. And we have around, so many different countries where you can go. So basically, you name it, I'm pretty sure that we have a partner university that you can go to.
That's fantastic to hear. Boriana, do you have any intentions of going abroad during your studies?
Yeah, indeed. Actually, in the past semester, I attended the Global Fair, which is organized by the Han, and I had the opportunity to hear lots of stories from students that study the same program as me that chose to do their minor abroad. So that was such an enriching experience, and it actually motivated me to be willing to go to Scotland for my minor, and so I'm really ambitious for that now.
Why Scotland?
Because in particular the Dundee University, and I think it's one of the best universities for this type of study like mine, biology and chemistry. So yeah, that's why.
Fantastic. And Jessica, did you get to go abroad during your studies?
Yes, I went to Finland.
Oh, wow.
It was amazing. I had a really great time. I think the partner university was really welcoming. I had the opportunity to travel a lot. I think a lot of students make use of the opportunity to also explore the country, but also countries surrounding. And I would say my highlight when it comes to traveling was seeing the Northern Lights. I think that was a really unique experience.
Such a dream, really.
Yeah, it really felt like one, yeah.
Yeah. So what I gather is that you can really go abroad, like within your time abroad already, up to 3 times, 3 semesters. That's makes like about 1.5 years. That's really, really great, because if you want to, like, once again, like we were talking before about like learning transversal skills that are not only concerning your study per se, but also like knowing how to relate yourself in a different setting, in a different country, like there are really a plethora of those opportunities out there if you're studying at the Han. Like, I know that the International Office always really tries to make their very best to facilitate your time abroad. So yeah, that's really great to hear, and I think it's also a really nice way to close off the first part of this session that we're hosting about the study facilities at the Han and what kind of study you can really expect here. So we introduced a little like the different types of activities that you can join. For example, Jessica and Boriana mentioned a few of these study organizations that you can possibly partake in. We also took a look at the different facilities, at the different types of help and support that you can get. And then we talked about internationalization. How important is internationalization at the Han, and what are your opportunities to possibly go abroad during your time? Now, in the second part of the session, we will be talking about the student life in the Netherlands, more specifically in Arnhem and Nijmegen. And I'm so happy to be joined with you for also this session, because I know that Boriana, you live in Nijmegen, where the Han has one of their campuses, and Jessica, you live in Arnhem, where is the other campus from the Han. So first of all, I wanted to ask you both, what is it like to live in your city?
Well, I personally really like Nijmegen. As some of you know, it's the oldest city in the Netherlands, but it's also the greenest. So like everything there is so close to nature, especially the eastern part is largely surrounded by a big forest, so you can go hiking. There's so many hiking tracks. It's untouched, and so many parks, and those little like short houses with each of them has its own garden. It's just a beautiful, beautiful town.
And what is it like to live in Arnhem, Jessica?
Yeah, I can only agree. Well, Arnhem is also really, really green. We have lots of parks, so if you like to go for a walk, a hike, etc., we're really close to one of the biggest national parks in the Netherlands, which really is nice. We have a great movie theater, also a vibrant city. But what I think is really special about Arnhem also is that you get really familiar really fast, because it is a bit smaller than in comparison to the other bigger cities that you might know in the Netherlands. So it feels a bit more welcome and home at the beginning. At least I had that feeling. But it is so close to everything too. So in like half hour, 40 minutes, I'm in Utrecht. In 15 to 20 minutes, I'm in Nijmegen. So if I want to choose a little bit more active clubbing, etc. scene, I'm just straight away really fast. But just arriving in a city that helped me a lot to be in a bit more smaller city in comparison to Amsterdam, for instance.
Yes, very understandable indeed. And you mentioned a little like how you get around within the Netherlands, but how do you guys get around within your own cities? Boriana, how do you commute?
For me personally, it's bike, 100%. I became very Dutch in that matter. Like, doesn't matter if it's raining, if it's windy, cloudy, hurricane, storm, doesn't matter. You will see me biking. At this point, I forgot how to walk.
And Jessica, did you also forget how to walk?
I wish I forgot how to walk. Well, for the ones that do not enjoy biking that much after a while, and those are only a few people actually, I'm one of the rare people that don't like to bike. You can take the bus. There's a really good public transportation system here. You can take the train. I have a weekend travel card, so I can travel for a really small amount, unlimitedly on the weekends to go around in the Netherlands, which really helps. And it's also possible by car, but I think that's the most inconvenient here in the Netherlands.
I couldn't agree more. I would not imagine myself owning a car, at least as a student in the Netherlands, because it's just so convenient to move around with all other different means of transportation. So it's great to know that there are so many options out there, really. Fantastic. And what is it like to be a student and living this kind of student life that everyone talks about? Like, for example, what do you do when you have time off from your studies, Boriana?
Well, for example, on the weekends or evenings, if I have time during the evening, I would maybe do like a social event. I will attend a social event from the student organizations indeed, or I'll just spend time at home or go out with friends, maybe partying sometimes, why not? Meanwhile, on the weekend, usually one day I spend studying and the other day do something fun. Mainly with my roommates, we like to go on adventures. Like we went to Cologne to the Christmas market last December, and then we also went hiking before that. And even before that, we biked to Germany, like all the way to Germany, even though it was raining the whole day. But it was so much fun. Never regret it.
You love biking in the rain. And
yes,
the
that's true. My favorite thing.
Was it hard for you to get to know people and make friends?
I would say not so much. I'd say the most prominent friendships that I've made so far were from the introduction week. So I definitely recommend with both hands for everyone to sign up for their program's introduction week because it's so enriching, it's so nice, and you meet so many people there that you're going to share 4 years with. In fact, but also my classmates became very good friends of mine, and I try to participate in those social events, student as well. And it was, so if you want to find people, your people, then you definitely can.
And Jessica, Boriana just mentioned the introduction week. Would you mind explaining to us what that is?
Yeah, so an introduction week is basically almost a week, depending also on the program. You're doing lots of fun activities. It could be, for instance, like let's say group building, Olympics day, or you could do some other team building activities. It's mainly there for you to get to know your class, but also to get to know the campus, get familiar with the city that you're in, and make friends. I think the biggest purpose of the introduction week is really that you make friends and have a good start.
Definitely, 100%. And also what I gathered from Boriana's response earlier is that it can really, like those friends that you will make during the introduction week can really turn out to be your friends for later moments of your studies as well, perhaps even for their entire duration, let's say. So that's really great to hear. Boriana, question for you. Do you have time to work next to your studies?
Personally, no, because I was just finished my first semester, and it's really not advisable for first semester students to work because we're just international students. We just have to start living alone all of a sudden in a completely different country. We have to get acquired to so many things, and that's why it's really, you have to get used to the university. That's why it's not a good idea to start working right away. But later on, there are many examples of students who start working.
Yeah, and I know that, Jessica, you're faced all the time with students coming up with like part-time jobs, for example. What kind of jobs are common for them to have?
Yeah, I would say most of the students that I'm aware of are working, for instance, in the HoReCa industry. It's the restaurant industry here in the Netherlands. We call it HoReCa. So they're working at bars, restaurants. There are students who work also at warehouses, but also some of the students, they find possibilities to work after their internship at their internship company so that they can work for 10, 15 hours there. I wouldn't recommend more. And also depending on whether you are a EU citizen or non-EU citizen, you also are sometimes not allowed to work more than 16 hours a week. But that is already a large amount of hours. So I would never recommend working more than that.
Yeah, Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And if you're wondering, like, why does it look different from European students on European students, we got you covered because we will be talking more about that in the third segment, which is about visas and scholarships. So if you're interested in learning more, make sure that you're tuned for that as well. But yeah, going back to what you were mentioning, it is very true indeed. I also have a lot of experience with other students that I got to learn throughout the years that, for example, were able to do their third year internship within a company. And then since after that first internship, you have 6 months of lectures and classes going on. In some cases, it's indeed possible to stick around, maybe for like a part-time type of solution, and then go back to the same company, perhaps even during the last year in which you have your graduation internship, and then possibly even stay within a company. So there are a lot of different opportunities when it comes to that, when it comes to, for example, like finding solutions alongside the way and alongside your studies at the Han. Speaking of working, speaking of cost of life, how much does it cost to live in the Netherlands? And I'm really curious to hear both of your guys' perspectives. Let's start with you, Boriana.
Okay, well, accommodation, I would say it would be approximately 350 to 450 euros per month, especially in Nijmegen. And for other expenses of living, I would say 250 should be enough, but it really depends on your own lifestyle, indeed, yeah.
Very relative to the lifestyle. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
what would you say, Jessica?
In general, we would give some sort of rule of thumb, say based on estimations, of course, from the average students, around 800-900 euros for cost of living, and that is including food, including accommodation, including maybe here and there something fun, and then an additional 200, a bit more, for the tuition fee if you pay in installments. So you should be looking at around 1,100, 1,200 euros a month that you should have available.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very clever. How much can I expect, for example, a meal to cost me if I go out to eat? Would you be able to have an answer for that?
Yeah, I think that's really depending on what your food standards are.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to McDonald's, of course, and then you're looking at 10 euros. Then you can go at, let's say we have a restaurant that's called Happy Italy. There a meal would cost 15 to 20. So yeah, you can go budget friendly. But you can also go really expensive, and then, yeah, you can go for a nice dinner for 30, 40, 50 and up. That's really up to your taste. But I would say most students look into the 15 to 20 euros area.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's just hopefully gives you a little bit of an indication of what you can expect when it comes to really prices around the Netherlands. And of course, we just covered the meals, but also on the website there are a lot more details when it comes to like really knowing a little what to expect when it comes to living standards and living costs. Now, I was also curious to learn from you, Boriana. How often do you get to go back home, back to Bulgaria?
For me, that would be 2 times a year, once during the Christmas holidays and once during summer. But I know a lot of people who would go home every opportunity they get, since we also have like spring and autumn vacation and days off for Easter. So yeah.
Maybe we can have a look at the academic calendar and I can tell a little bit more about it.
There it is.
Yeah, so as Brianna already mentioned, there are holidays, and we do have a lot of them: fall, Christmas, spring, and May and summer, like you can see on the schedule. So those are around the amount that you can expect when you come. However, I would say if you have the opportunity and you're coming from really far away, don't go home. Not too many holidays. Of course, sometimes yes, but make sure that you use your summer holiday in a way of how you explore the country, how you explore Europe. There are so many beautiful places here. So if you're coming, for instance, also from outside of the EU, then that's a great chance to, yeah, really get familiar with Europe.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And thank you for bringing this up, Jessica, because I was earlier just having a conversation with Boriana coming here. And we were just talking about how beautiful it can be to be in the Netherlands, for example, during the summertime.
Yeah.
There's just so many different events and different
Yeah.
activities that you can possibly benefit from being here. And just like it's stunning for me to think about the days that are just so extremely long. For example, if you come from somewhere around the southern Europe, like me, I come from Italy originally, then you're used to maybe seeing the sunset at around like 7 or 8 p.m., whereas here you can have days like really going on until like 10, 11 p.m., which is, in my opinion, really fantastic. So there is a lot to do also within the Netherlands, but it's of course also great to hear that there are different holidays entailed, and you can just go home if you feel like you just need a little bit of a break from your studies or from your life here within the Netherlands. Now, the Netherlands, of course, it's being really international. We know that everything taking place at the Han is completely taught in English, and that you can also talk to the different, for example, to the study career coach in English, to the student psychologist as well, to all different people possibly assisting your studies. But is it important to know Dutch? Boriana, is it important for you?
As an international student studying an English taught program, then I would say not necessarily. You don't need to know Dutch, but I would say maybe it's a good plan to get at least a basic knowledge of Dutch. There are some courses that maybe Jessica can say a bit more about, and maybe in the future, if you want to work in the Netherlands, then I would say it's good to know Dutch in the long run. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I think in general, it is good if you, of course, when you want to stay here, that you are learning the language. But nevertheless, yeah, I am living now in the Netherlands since 6 years. I speak Dutch quite fluent, I would say. Really high level command of Dutch. But yeah, if I go to a grocery store, if I meet new people, and then I'm talking Dutch, and then they directly switch to either, sometimes German, but most of the time English. Because I think the Netherlands, they are just really accommodating, and as soon as they hear, oh, you're foreign, you're not from here, you're an expat, they speak directly English. So it is really difficult actually to learn the language. So I just want to give an example of, you do not need to speak Dutch to be having a good time here. The movies are also in English, so you don't need to worry about that. But if you do want to learn, and we already said it is really good to learn the language, some of the programs, they offer courses within their program, so you can do it there. And then we also offer, for instance, Social Dutch. And I think you said you took Social Dutch, right?
I did indeed.
Do you want to tell a bit about it?
Yeah, I took the Social Dutch courses last year. I already had a pretty nice basic level of Dutch, so I could start right away from Social Dutch 4, it's called. Which is already a level between A2 and B1, which allows you to have some rather basic conversations, but still enables you to at least get a little bit of a gist of what other people are saying, and allows you to carry out simple conversations in general. And for me, that was really nice. The classes were full in Dutch. Not to say that in a scary way, but to say that in a way that it was really, really nice to experience the fact that that you just would enter these classes that were 1.5 hours long, and you would just really do your best to only use the Dutch language. If you didn't know a certain word, a certain term, you would just like try to find ways to explain that also in Dutch. And also all of the classmates being international, they were trying to make the same effort. So it was really, really fun to take. And I think that just within 7 weeks of the course that it was, I made quite some nice progress.
It seems like a good way also to meet new people, I think.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I heard it's free, right? The first and the second year?
Exactly. So the first two
time,
classes that you can take, those are for free. And then if you want to go the extra mile, then you might have to pay yourself. But as long as you're a student, you can benefit from a really, really large discount. So at the end of the day, it doesn't end up costing as much as other external Dutch courses would be. Wonderful. So I've heard you speaking Dutch before, Jessica, and I cannot say that I'm super impressed by your level.
You.
Was it hard for you to get to that level of fluency?
Well, I think I have a little bit of an advantage since I'm German and the languages are really close. So therefore it was a bit easier for me. But I know so many other people, so many of my colleagues, my international colleagues, who are also speaking fluently Dutch now. So if you really want to make it work, I think it's possible. And especially since all of you who are coming are probably already fluent in English. So you already have a little bit of a language talent there, I would say.
Yeah.
So you will have an easier time.
Yeah, let's make an extra challenge then. Wonderful. And I think this is also a beautiful way to wrap off the second part of the session that we were hosting today. As always, you can ask questions within the chat function of this live stream. And now we will be taking a look whether there have been any questions being asked. We can just give it a second to see whether there is anything that popped up into the students'
maybe nice
mind.
to mention, we haven't mentioned that yet. The student associations we were talking about a bit earlier.
Oh, right.
They have a live later on, if I'm not mistaken. So if you want to join that, there you will see on Instagram, on our Instagram, the Han University _com Instagram, you can see one of the student associations talking a little bit of what you can do, what you can expect when you come here. To gain a bit more impressions of that.
Yes, thank you, Jessica, for mentioning that. That is actually a really good point. And you can find the program of the Open Day of today also online on the website, so you know also what kind of live you can join. But indeed, the one from the study organizations are coming up very soon, and they have prepared some really nice and fun content for you. And we have also received the first question, which concerns housing. Do we have any tips about housing that you guys would like to share?
I would say major tip would be start early, like at least in May even.
Start early with looking, you mean?
Yes,
like searching for housing. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And be persistent, like be cheeky. You have to text everybody. Like it doesn't matter if it's more expensive than you would generally prefer. If they say, for example, we accept over 22 years old, still text them, just text everybody. And then you will have just a bigger chance because there is really a crisis, and the more persistent you are, the better your chances are.
Yeah, it's been quite challenging, I would say, in later years to really find good housing solutions. And we will have more also on this topic in the coming session, which actually concerns application and housing. So make sure that you're also tuned to find out all of the ins and outs. But Jessica, did you also have some tips that you wanted to share?
Yeah, I would indeed say, it is challenging at the moment to find it, but it's of course not impossible to find something. We do share more tips and tricks about housing in our session that you already mentioned, and we also have a live session later on where we can show we show one of the student housing that one of our students is showing. In general, I would say indeed I agree. Look early, be prepared, know what you're looking yourself into, and start as soon as you apply, basically, and then it seems more possible than, for instance, if you apply a month before. So therefore I would say check out our session later on. They're really going into it.
Yes. Thank you very much, Jessica, for mentioning this as well. And I know that there is also a second question coming up, so let's take a look. And it concerns more so travel opportunities, I believe. So is a bicycle the only thing that you need to traverse the city you are in? And I think that by traversing, they mean probably getting around. So for example, the person asking this question loves cycling. So if that is true, it can be helpful for a budget control. So what would you guys say? Is that really the only way that you might benefit from when it comes to getting around?
Yeah, I would agree. If you love biking, which I'm assuming the person does, then you can go everywhere. I think especially depending on where you live, and you will live somewhere in the city or in the surroundings most likely, then you can bike everywhere. I was biking once also to a swimming pond, half hour. I think everything with below an hour, Dutch people are biking. So you can definitely budget there if you want to.
Yeah, and the reason why people are biking also these larger distances is because the biking infrastructure in this country is just really outstanding. I've never seen anything close to the biking infrastructure in the Netherlands anywhere else. There is a cycling lane anywhere. In most cases, you have two cycling lanes at both ends of the street. So that means that one lane is cycling one way, the other lane is cycling the other way. So in most cases,
Yeah.
there are no like major accidents taking place. It's really, really safe. And I mean, you can really get anywhere. Like you said, like even long distances, even going from, for example, from Arnhem to Amsterdam, if you want to do that by bike, it's
Yeah.
quite long, but you can.
Yeah.
And you don't have to cycle next to the highway. Like, yeah, I see that there are people laughing in the room. Yeah, let's be realistic. It will maybe take around 7 hours if you want to do it. So it's not something that you can do just like every day, but you can if
But
you
let's
want
say
to.
you made some friends, you're living in Nijmegen, let's say,
Yeah.
and you made some friends from the Arnhem campus. There is some sort of, we call it some sort of bike highway, I think it's called. It's a beautiful way. It's really beautiful. I did it once. It takes you around, well, it took me 40 minutes, 50 minutes. But if you are really fit with biking, I think you can do it faster. It's a really beautiful way, and you can just, bike from city to city.
Definitely.
And people do that. I know some of the colleagues who come by bike to work, and I'm every day impressed.
Yeah, same. Likewise. And I mean, the people living in the Netherlands really do like biking in most of the cases. So it's very often normal to see that people are also cycling longer distances, and it's quite refreshing to see. I believe that there are no more questions. So that also wraps up the segment that we're having. And thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope that you had a fun time. Did you?
Yes, indeed, I had.
Good to hear. And thank you guys for watching at home. We will be awaiting you for the next session, in which we will be talking about admissions, application, and housing. And in the meantime, you can check our program on the website to also find out about the different live streams that you can join. Thanks again, and I will see you then. Goodbye.